30 years have been and gone since Royal Gait pulled off a truly remarkable feat, winning the Smurfit Champion Hurdle, a Grade 1, on just his 4th hurdle start. He was a really talented stayer on the flat, after all. He won the Prix Royal Oak, the Prix de Cadran, and controversially disqualified from the Ascot Gold Cup. But 2 years after his retirement from the flat game, he was back for more to conquer the jumps world. The man tasked with proving this impossibility, James Fanshawe, in just his 3rd season of training.
I think he was making a nuisance of himself at Gelding Stud, and he kept on jumping out, and then he kept on jumping out of White Lodge Stud, one of Sheikh Mohammed studs in Newmarket. And so Anthony sent him to Joey and Emma Newton in Leicestershire with a view to going point to pointing. And to be fair to Joey and Emma, they said, "Oh, this horse," very soon after he came in, they said this horse is far too good to go point to pointing. And anyways, so fortunately, he managed to come to Pegasus, but we had to keep everything under wraps because we wanted to see if he'd stand training. You know, he'd had 2 years off. Would his tendon hold up? But it soon became very apparent that he was a really high class horse.
So he was a novice in this season. He was 8 rising 9 at this point. When exactly did the Champion Hurdle come into consideration?
You know, if you've got a really nice horse, there's only one thing you think about ultimately. You know, what's your ultimate target, and that's Cheltenham. And it's whether you go for, you know, if he passes all the tests on the way, do you go for the champion, or do you go for one of the novices? And you know, you're thinking, well, novices, but he was 8 coming 9, and he'd got sort of he didn't know how many miles he was going to get with his tendon problems and that sort of thing he'd had. You know, I hadn't sort of discounted the Champion Hurdle because he showed such class at home. 3 weeks before the Champion Hurdle, age 9, he went and got a splint, which is a bony growth on the cannon bone, and he was lame. And I spoke to a really good vet, David Ellis, and he said, well, if you're going to want to get that horse to Cheltenham, you're going to have to do him up for a week. You're going to have to leave him in the stable for a week. I said, David, you know, we cannot leave this horse in the stable for a week if you want to get the Champion Hurdle. He said, well, if you want to come sound and get there, you've got to leave him in the box for a week. So 3 weeks before the Champion Hurdle, he was left in the box for a week, and he had to do it, and he was sound afterwards. So David's advice was right, but sort of playing catch-up to get him back on song again before the race was quite tricky, and you know, obviously he responded well, but it wasn't the ideal build-up.
Shall we have a look at it?
Oh yeah, it'd be great.
How many times would you have watched this back since?
I haven't watched this for ages. Richard Dunwoody, he was he rode Crebensis when he won the Champion Hurdle, so he was on Crebensis. So, and Graham had ridden, had done all the schooling with Steve Smith-Eccles on Royal Gait. So Graham McCourt here is riding him.
Yeah, that's worth pointing out. This wasn't Sheikh Mohammed's only representative in here. He had a previous winner in Crebensis, who was, I think, fair to say, he was fancied enough, but more on the way out of his career. Whereas with Royal Gait, you weren't exactly sure what you were going to get.
Well, Crebensis was, you know, he was having, I think he was having problems bleeding by now. So
the horse you knew well, of course, from your Sir Michael Starr days.
Yeah. But you know, you watch this. This is Royal Gait's style. He just loved to be switched off and produced with a turn of foot. Here he has at the back, and Graham's put him to sleep.
The Nottingham wins, as you were detailing, they were both hold-up tactics there, and you saw no reason to go against that again.
No, because going back to his first run at Travado, when he got beaten by Travado at Kempton, you know, he was a bit keen and got tired in front. He just loved to be produced, and I think you go back to the Gold Cup, he showed a tremendous turn of foot when he won that. Unfortunately, he knocked the lead horse, but
well, he was
going to. Still, here we are. You know, we're sat last, aren't we? We're going down the hill.
And at this point, you must have been very happy with how he's going. These are the tactics. Graham's carrying them out to the letter at this point. Was there any concerted effort of when the move might come, or just did you leave that to him?
I don't know what I can do with it about it from the stands. I don't think I was probably watching it too closely at the time. I'd be a bit like Henrietta. I'd be sort of, you know, Henrietta Knight used to be very sort of anxious about Cheltenham runners.
So he's made up a a noticeable amount of ground at this point. He's just starting to come onto the midfield, almost the heels of leaders.
Yeah.
At this point, you've got a wall of horses, and I guess you're wondering exactly what kind of run that you're going to be gifted.
The thing I always counted on Royal Gait on, if he's going to be good enough, he'd always have if he was there coming to the final furlong, he would show a good turn of foot, which how Graham's riding him, he's in no hurry, is he? He's been very patient here. Look at him, he's got a double handful.
It's that moment, I think, where he moves from the outside almost towards the inside now. He's now in the perfect position to strike.
Yes, yeah, and he's cruising.
He's the least experienced horse in the field at the moment. We're just losing Granville again there. Far more experienced, but the favourite Morley Street, he'd been to America and back. He'd had 16 starts already.
Yes.
And here's your horse on his 4th hurdle start, cantering all over them just in behind. The emotions must be high here.
Well, I'm thinking we're travelling well, but, that hill is dreadful, Cheltenham,
Having had a week's box rest as well.
This is why he only just wins, I think, because, he wins, but he's not an impressive winner. Because when at his best, he would have just gone quick up the hill. But I think the fact that he had a week in the box counted against him, and he's got a bit tired here.
Got a bit tired, but he's got the class to see it out.
Yeah.
And you're a champion hurdle winner.
He was a wonderful horse, and often, as I said to Anthony, later on, Anthony Stroud, it'd been great to have had a go at the Gold Cup on the flat that year because, as I said, he had such class,
What did that do for you personally and professionally?
Well, we'd won the Eclipse the year before on the flat, which is our first Group 1 winner. And, I think if you have Group 1 winners on the flat, that this is, is what you strive for. And but the Champion Hurdle is not just a Group 1 winner; it's a classic. It's a Cheltenham Hurdle
championship race.
It's a championship race. It's equivalent of winning a classic. And I was born in Morton in Marsh, and just up the road. So it was a very, very special day, and I'm really grateful we could have had the chance to train him.